find young people coming for any kind of public discussion of this kind. You're already enduring a lot of lectures in classrooms. A lot of pain is inflicted in the form of lectures. If some more pain is inflicted next time around, it will only 50%. So what I thought is, I'll make a few introductory remarks and I'll try to open it up to you for interaction. This is not about one quaint, old, lonely man who lived and died long ago. This is about our lives. Gandhiji would be irrelevant today if he had no relevance to our lives. This is really about our structuring of our society, our life, our nation, in many ways, the globe itself, mankind. So my appeal is, don't think of Mahatma Gandhi as a man who was born in Portland in 1869 and died in 1948 on 30th January with an assassin's bullet. Think of what is it that matters to us today. And if there's something relevant in what that man and many other great men and women like that said and did, then let's embrace it. If they are irrelevant, let's ignore it. And I am absolutely certain that what Mahatma Gandhi said, and in many respects what he did, has immense relevance to all of us today. Whether you put the brand Gandhi there or not is immaterial to us. Let me therefore make just a few comments. One of the problems in dealing with Gandhi and Gandhiism for the younger generation is the style of Gandhi swallowed the substance of Gandhi. When today people talk of Gandhi, the first thing is now Kollai Gutta, Kallatodu, Chetikarra, half-naked fakir, austere life, celibacy. It may or may not be appealing. Actually, it's not very appealing to most of the people. But that is not what Gandhi was. That was simply his style, because Gandhiji combined several things in one human being. He was a saint, he was a philosopher, he was a leader and a nation builder. And this, not only because of personal beliefs and a certain Jain background. In Gujarat, there was a tremendous influence of the austere Jainism. Not only because of it, but also because he adopted consciously as a symbol in order to be able to reach out to the people of this country in the face of poverty, ignorance, illiteracy, and isolation. That style must not cloud our judgment. We must look at Gandhi and his ideas and his life much more deeply. The second problem that all of us have, in fact, one of the things that I toyed with in all my public life, when I left government to found a movement for reforms in the country, many well-meaning dear friends of mine said, look, now that you made anyway, in their words, I never use the word, you made this sacrifice. You become a Gandhi. Be an austere Gandhi, completely giving up anything personal. I told them no. In my judgment, that is wrong. In fact, the problem with Mahatma Gandhi is he made public work so unapproachable. Because he led an example which is unprecedented, almost impossible for other human beings to emulate. In the minds of most of the people, there is a polarity, there is a binary approach. If you want to serve the country, you sacrifice everything personal, live like a saint, and then serve people. Because we cannot do that, then because you cannot be a saint, then forget all public service and public good and look after your personal gain. It's an utterly dangerous message. That's not what Gandhiji wanted to convey. But unfortunately, that is what is conveyed inadvertently. If your public work is to enhance the quality of life of everybody, then negating life is a nonsensical approach. It can be a spiritual approach for your personal salvation. But negating life and then trying to improve life, that's one of the problems of Mahatma Gandhi. At least understanding Mahatma Gandhi. He was a saint. But in terms of public good, we have now going to the essence of Gandhi rather than the symbols of Gandhi once again. The third issue that confronts all of us is, and I am certainly one of those confronted by that, Gandhiji emphasized on personal morality. That if you are moral as a human being, if your conduct is blemishless, everything is wonderful. There's no question about it. It's obviously true. But it's also obviously unhelpful. If everybody is wonderful and moral and truthful, then why all this problem at all? We'll be in heaven, where milk and honey are flowing. Human beings are diverse. And human conduct itself is diverse. One day I can be very moral, next day I can be immoral. In a particular context. That's the very nature of the beast. That's how society functions. So the challenge is not merely how to inculcate morality by preaching, but how to sustain morality by institutional mechanisms and creating the right kind of incentives. Supposing you are taught here in colleges and universities and schools, all the wonderful virtues and qualities of Mahatma Gandhi and sacrifice and morality and service. But after leaving this out there in society, you find that the Gandhian virtues actually are not what are succeeding, however you define success. It is the crooks and the marauders who are actually succeeding. And they come and give a lecture to you tomorrow or day after tomorrow in this university. All your talk of morality is irrelevant. Have you built an institutional framework that can sustain morality, that rewards good behavior, that punishes bad behavior, consistent? Then morality is sustainable. Therefore, institutionalization. Ambedkar was an institutionalist. Gandhiji was a moralist in substantial measure. So there is an issue. Both are necessary. But morality cannot be sustained in a society without institutionalization, without creating incentives for the right kind of behavior. And finally, in dealing with Gandhiji, I am saying it with the greatest respect and humility. We have to rescue Gandhi from Gandhians. The Gandhians of our country imitated Gandhi's external habits and dress and other forms, forgetting the essence of Mahatma Gandhi. That's why the younger generation doesn't really give as much importance to Gandhi as Gandhi deserves. In fact, the world over, Gandhiji was respected, is respected, and followed much more than in India. In India, of course, we have statues. We are a country full of statues. We love that. But I don't think we really deeply understand what Gandhi stood for or emulate. That's why some of the greatest leaders that emerged in post-Second World War world, who inspired mankind, were influenced by Mahatma Gandhi, and almost all of them from outside this country. In a sense, Gandhiji tried to establish a meaningful, wholesome relationship between the individual, the society, larger humanity, not merely Indian society or Telugu society or something, but larger humanity, human race itself, and planet Earth itself. So the first man, we all know by now, is very well known now, the first man who understood that sustainability is the most important thing. That man and nature cannot be in conflict. There has to be harmony. Let me bring down to the Indian context in the public domain and make 3 brief points and conclude. Then we'll leave it open to interaction. In 1915, if I recall, Mahatma Gandhi made a very seminal speech in Benares Hindu University, the inaugural ceremony. The Viceroy was there, some of the most eminent Indians were there. There were a few non-Indians, Englishmen there. One of them was Higginbotham, I remember, because Gandhi in his speech referred to Higginbotham, who was there. And surprisingly, or actually unsurprisingly, Mahatma Gandhi was stopped midway through his speech. He could not conclude his speech. And he dissent was chairing it. And Gandhiji was so iconoclastic, so deviant from tradition, that the elites there in the presence of the Viceroy could not tolerate that. But there was one question he repeatedly raised. He said, the British will leave this country one day or the other, either by compulsion or by exhaustion. It's not the question of whether, it's a question of when. So it doesn't matter. But are we prepared for self-governance? It's not the British who caused all our problems. He was the a great leader, so perspicacious, 105 years ago, recognized it's not the foreign ruler that was the problem. He talked about the streets of Benares, how filthy, how ugly, how dusty they were, and how much we're messing up our own environments. He said, what have the British got to do with that? Just because they leave, you think it will improve automatically? Unless we are fit for citizenship and self-governance, we cannot build a truly great nation. He was not one of those who believed that the white man was the enemy, throw him out and everything's all right. Never. Unfortunately, Gandhiji's message has not been internalized. We changed the flag, power transfer from X to Y. We wrote a constitution for ourselves. We called it a semi-revolution because the Viceroy did not sign it, or the Governor General did not sign it, and therefore it was a quasi-revolutionary thing. But we didn't change much. It's a very harsh verdict, but we didn't change much. Gandhiji's talisman, please remember, what did he say? He did not say, look at the poor man in the far corners of this land in a hut and help him. He did not say. He said, if what you do gives him a measure of control over his life, then that is worth doing. For him, Swaraj, self-governance, independence is not about change of flag or change of an MLA or MP or a minister or a chief minister or a prime minister. It was about giving a measure of self-control, a control over the life of the citizen. Does the citizen enjoy the autonomy, the sovereignty, the control over his life or her life? That is a measure of freedom. By that yardstick, we have spectacularly failed. Spectacularly failed. There are three issues, among many others, we could discuss it. 100 things because Gandhiji, there was not a field he did not touch. There was not an area he did not explore. But let me limit myself to this arena of giving a measure of control to our citizens in a free society. And look at three issues very briefly and very telegraphic. For want of time, I don't want to explore too much because we're all intelligent, bright young men and women who are looking at the way things are happening in this country and discussing, debating, and there's a social media and all kinds of loud rhetoric and discourse. So we don't require too much of elaboration. The first is, if power is so centralized as it is in India, it is completely antithetical to what Mahatma Gandhi wanted. Gandhiji's notion of power is empowering the citizen. What political scientists call the principle of subsidiarity, that power must be exercised as close to citizens as possible. And to larger tiers, it must be transferred only when at the local level, at the community level, power cannot be exercised either because of the complexity of the task or the intricacy of linkages or economies of scale. Obviously, you cannot defend the realm of India from your village or town. Therefore, it's obvious the difference has to be somewhere else. But otherwise, the question is not why should power be with the people locally. The question is why should power be with somebody distant. The default position should be power is ours, local, with us. Our resources, our life, our outcomes, our future. And the defining principle should be, if your decisions locally affect only you and none else, then power must be transferred to you. Because if you mess up, you mess up. It's your privilege. You learn from that. Somebody else will do well. You learn from that too. As long as in the given campus, or in Visakhapatnam city, or in a municipal ward, or in a panchayat, or some other place, if you make decisions and you do well, you prosper, you benefit. You do foolishly, you pay the price. You suffer. The rest of humanity need not bother about that. Because you have the right to make decisions and you have to suffer the consequences of wrong decisions. That's how democracy matures. That's when self-governance becomes real and meaningful. The single greatest tragedy of Indian post-independence governance is that we centralized power completely against the notions of freedom and liberty and Mahatma Gandhi's ideals and made our democracy a farce. We have a vote and shout democracy. When you have two elements of democracy, we vote in a celebration without you knowing what the hell you're voting for and who you're voting for and why you're voting. And immediately after voting is over, we keep shouting, protest, hartal. That's one thing we learned from Mahatma Gandhi. Because he fashioned tools to fight the alien ruler, a very powerful, organized alien ruler. He fashioned tools of non-violence. But they are not the tools for today's India. Hartal is not the tool for a democratic India. The moment we have the right to vote, the moment we have the right to free speech and organization, you forfeited the right to obstruct and indulge in any form of violence, verbal or physical. Period. That's why Ambedkar said on 26 November 1949, on the day the Constitution was actually approved by the Constituent Assembly, that the first thing that we have to recognize is that we must give up the grammar of anarchy. That was the method when we were fighting the alien ruler, when we had no rights and no vote and no freedom. Once we have the freedom, we are the owners of this enterprise. We forfeit that right to indulge in anarchy. Self-governance means not a change of flag or government in Delhi. It means that we decide locally. There is a link, a very clearly defined link which we can understand, which is intelligible to every single person, rich or poor, educated, illiterate, urban or rural. The link between the vote I give and the consequences that I face. The link between the taxes I pay and the services that I get. The link between authority that I transfer and the accountability that I enforce. Once those links are missing, democracy is a farce. Freedom is illusory. Liberty is anarchy or tyranny. And India has paid an extraordinary price. And India lost the momentum. India has failed to fulfill her potential, largely because we completely ignored Gandhiji's essence in statecraft. Let me give only one or two brief illustrations. I live in an apartment. I keep telling people to make it easy for them to understand. Now, this morning I woke up at 4:30, and then I took a flight, and I'll go back after this. This evening I go back, and then my 5th or 6th floor apartment, suppose the elevator is not functioning, the lift is not functioning. Now I can climb upstairs, but doctors are now saying after a certain age, don't be excessively athletic, walk as much as you want, but don't climb up and down. I think it will be good if we follow advice, because we want to live a little longer and make our lives miserable. Or my aged mother anyway cannot climb up the stairs. I'm not going to keep quiet. I immediately ring up the person who's in charge of, on our behalf, we elected him to take care of the affairs of these apartments. I said, I am paying the monthly maintenance fee, the elevator is not working. Why? Fix it. I'm not going to keep quiet. It's not a notional thing for me, it's real. I'm paying the money, I need this service, I suffer if the service is bad, therefore fix it. If it doesn't, then I'll ask somebody else, how to press it. If he can't, no matter how busy I think I am, I will take charge, because this is life. This is personal. This affects me directly. That is democracy. That I understand the consequences of my choices in a direct and personal way to my family, to me. Not Bharat Mata, not some illusionary slogan. This is self-governance. This is when democracy matures. People understand the value of work. That is when Gandhiji's ideal of Swaraj is real. That is when we're not really paying lip sympathy to an old man who died and who was killed brutally. That is when we're actually practicing. The second element. Mahatma Gandhi was the greatest egalitarian philosopher, statesman of the last century plus. Egalitarianism sans hatred, sans violence. His personal life, his teachings, his philosophy, everything is about treating human beings with dignity. That every child born, irrespective of caste, region, religion, language, community, is a child of God and deserves dignity. But that notion, that concept becomes real only when the child is allowed to fulfill her potential. The child can be a productive member of society in keeping with the innate talent that nature has given her, God has blessed her. Only when that child, when she grows up, can live with dignity as an equal member of society without discrimination. That means quality education accessible to every single child without reference to the purse. Quality healthcare to make life meaningful and productive and happy and painless. And a system of rule of law which is real, in operation. That you get justice swiftly and surely on equal terms with everybody else. And law alone governs and not individuals. All these three ideals, this country is very far from them. On paper, we have all these. We have Right to Education Act, we have education as a fundamental right, we have a fantastic way of doing things in this country. There is no education, no problem. I made it a constitutional right. Problem solved. Now they say healthcare and bring it under constitutional. As you know, somebody prevented them from giving quality education because constitution, the fundamental rights didn't include that. All this is bunkum. To the best of my knowledge, no serious country which actually delivered results made education a fundamental right. It did not have to be made. It's a joke. Or healthcare. Gandhi always invoked God. I do not know if there is God. I keep telling people that I am a bit of a follower of Buddha in that respect. My relationship with God is one of mutual non-interference. If God doesn't bother me, I don't bother about him either. I'm quite happy that way. But I do believe that there is sin. I do believe that there are two great sins. The first is unfulfilled potential. If a child born with innate ability given by nature or God, depending on your faith, cannot fulfill her potential, cannot realize that potential, because society failed to give the tools of education, real education, not 10th class pass, not intermediate pass, not a degree, but real education, flowering of the mind, capacity to deal with the world, and capacity to contribute to the world. Our education is among the worst in the world today. The second great sin to me is avoidable suffering. 3 days ago, I participated in 2 days ago actually, yesterday, in a commemoration meeting of a 96-year-old colleague who passed recently. He was my colleague who looks at the moment for a decade, though much elder to my father, he was my great colleague and friend. As I told them there, it was not a condolence meeting, it should not be. It was a celebration meeting. It was a commemoration meeting. It was a full life, purposeful life, meaningful life. There is no cause for grief any longer. We of course miss a human being. That is something unavoidable. And thank God there is death. If there is no death at all, we will make all the young people's lives even more miserable. Unless the old blood passes and the new blood replaces it. Unless there is this continuous change, mankind will be totally a stagnant pool. Similarly, certain diseases are incurable. We hope that we will not get them, but once we get them, we do the best we can. But there is a whole lot of misery, suffering, which is entirely preventable and avoidable. And if the society has no capacity to build institutional mechanisms to actually eliminate the avoidable suffering, that is a tragedy. It took me 19 years of intense struggle, despite some considerable personal access and some influence and some credibility, to bring in just one vaccine in this country to prevent 200,000 children every year, to prevent their suffering from preventable congenital pneumonitis. The vaccine of measles and rubella, MR vaccine. It took me 19 years. Finally we got it. But it's a shame. Take coronavirus. We are lucky that it did not start here. We hope it will spread very slowly and it spreads in this country. We have no systems to handle that. That's the truth. That's the truth. It's a disgrace. Avoidable suffering. You can cite any number of instances. I'm a medical doctor by training, among other things, and the author of the National Health Mission. So I'm not speaking casually or flippantly. And the third is a system of rule of law, that each citizen, each individual, irrespective of caste, creed, gender, etc., lives with dignity under the same laws, with the same protection of the same laws, and nobody claims any privilege on account of birth or access to power or wealth.